Hey, my name is Dr. Brendan McCarthy. I am the Chief Medical Officer of Protea Medical Center in Tempe, Arizona. Today, I would like to talk to you a little bit about what I believe makes Protea unique. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that make us unique, and there's a lot of things that I'm very proud of and that I love doing at Protea. And I think these are the things that really are part of the success of the practice and what makes us stand out. But I'd like to really focus today on one of the core services that we provide with our patients, and that's a lab review. And I'm going to talk about the most basic lab that you can get done on a person and how much information I can pull from this most basic lab to help you with your health. Whether you're a patient currently of Protea, or you're thinking of it, or you're maybe in another state or another country, the information I want to share now with you is something that I would like you to consider being something that you should look for in your care providers moving forward. Everything I'm about to talk about is rooted in science. We learned this in medical school. Nothing I'm going to say in here is controversial, only in the sense that no one talks about it. Maybe that's controversial. But the science behind everything I'm about to discuss is established. The importance of being a physician in the room with you, for me, and for all the doctors that I work with, is we ask ourselves, how can we be helpful with this woman or this man in this moment? How can we bring our best selves to this room and provide the best possible service that we can? And one of the most obvious ways is what we're going to discuss, and that's labs. So our patients, we run lab work consistently with our patients, and that's what helps guide us. We don't guess regarding your health. We don't assume we know. We spend time with you, we listen to you, we come up with an understanding of what your experience is, we come up with an understanding of the things around you in your life that may be contributing to your symptoms. And from that time in that room with you, we come up with a hypothesis on what we think might be going on. Then we test that hypothesis by running lab work. That lab work, when you come back with us and we sit down, we go over that lab work helps us confirm whether our hypothesis about what's going on is correct. It helps us establish why it is that you're experiencing these symptoms. It helps us understand our care and our therapy long-term. Are we doing a good job keeping you in the range and taking good care of you? Lab work is an essential part of what we do because it is the best way for us to assess the quality of care we provide to you. So I stand very strongly behind labs the way we do them. And we run labs with some frequency. Every 6 months is pretty much standard in the practice. And if you're new to the practice, we do lab work in the very beginning, and we do lab work within about a month to verify that we're doing, that we're moving things in the right direction. And then after that, every 6 months, we run lab work. But what I want to drill down onto that's unique, I believe, very specifically here, is that say you're my patient for thyroid. Say you're presenting to me and you have hypothyroidism and you want me to care for that. And I got you. I'm going to monitor your thyroid. So you come in, this is the medication, this is the dose we're going to do, and I'm going to start you on this dose. Say we're just starting the prescription together. Say we just diagnosed it. I'm going to start you on this. I'm going to run a lab within a month to make sure I got the right numbers. And then I'm going to then monitor you over the course of your life and make sure you're doing well. Make sure that I'm getting the right dose. And that's good medicine. How can I make it better? One of the labs we throw in there, we don't just run your TSH, T3 and T4 free. We also run a CBC and a CMP. And that's what I want to talk a lot about today. The CBC is called a complete blood count, and the CMP is a comprehensive metabolic panel. These two panels are very inexpensive, and they're very effective at giving us good information about you. I'm going to go over these labs, not line by line, but I'm going to go through what it is that I look at when I run these labs and how I use those labs to give my patients advice on how to move forward with their life. Because if you're seeing me for your thyroid, why wouldn't I want to evaluate your immune system at the same time and give you feedback? And why wouldn't I want to liver function? Why wouldn't I want to understand nutrition values that we can tease out from these labs. When I run these labs, the CBC, CMP, it's not a gateway to sell you a product. I'll tell you that. It's not a gateway for me to fish for other problems in a person and say, oh, you have this, so I'm going to prescribe that. And no, it's really different from that. And I'm going to let you know, when we do this, it's our way of saying, okay, you're doing well here, but this is how it can become better. This is how you can avoid going down that road. This is how we can improve upon your health. And a lot of times it's lifestyle. More than anything else, it's lifestyle. So let's start with that CBC. What does that look like? The CBC is a combination of your red blood cell count and your white blood cell count. And when we take it together, you put that together and you get a good image of what's going on with the patient at that one level. And when you look at the red blood cell count, when you look at the actual labs that we pull in there, we run the absolute count of how many red blood cells you have. And then we run how much hemoglobin is in there. We look at how much hematocrit. These are just measurements of how your body moves iron through it and oxygenation through those. We look at something called mean corpuscular volume, or MCV, and we go down the line with them. And some key things in there I want to bring up here is like something like, say the MCV, or mean corpuscular volume. The mean corpuscular volume is a measurement of how big your red blood cells are. And that is a great way of understanding whether you have good absorption of vitamin B12 and folate. A very common cause of MCV values being out of range is that you don't have enough vitamin B12 and enough folate in your diet. When we run this lab and I see that value pointing in that direction, it could be other things, true. It could be alcohol exposure. It could be a couple other small things in there, true. But the most common one we see is that B12 folate. As we get older and as we go through life, our ability to absorb B12 and it being bioavailable in our body diminishes. So I'm able to tease out when a patient should be considering taking B12 as a supplement, or whether we should be working on their diet to improve their sources of vitamin B12. It's another thing also for me to kind of tease out whether, and this is not perfect. I want you to know that this is not perfect, but it is helpful to know whether a person has a folate issue associated with metabolizing folate, which would be something akin to something we've talked about before in these podcasts, is would be MTHFR, or methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase. So that MCV value, I know it sounds like a lot of jargon. I'm just going to talk about this one test initially right now. That mean corpuscular volume is a measurement of the size of the red blood cell. If it gets too large, I know that you're probably either low in vitamin B12 or folate. The B12 deficiency could be over the course of time as we age, you're not absorbing B12. It could be dietary deficiency. It could be absorption issue. We could also be thinking about the folate, whether you have that methylfolate issue going on, where your body's absorbing folate, you're eating folate, but you're not converting into the active version, or methylfolate, and that's causing that deficiency to show up in that lab value. The range on MCV is pretty broad, and as you move closer to 97 or 100, you're moving towards that deficiency. So as I see a patient moving in that direction over the course of their lives, I'll start to navigate with them. Should we change your diet? Should we run a test to see if you have MTHFR? And we really work towards lifestyle to improve their absorption of B12 and see if we can get better food sources of it. If not, I recommend vitamin B12 and folate. That's a supplement that can be purchased over the counter. Now, here's the part where ethics plays a role, and I want to make sure I'm very clear with you. When someone is in our clinic and we find a deficit, a nutritional deficit, it is ethically core to my practice and to who I am as a doctor and to every physician that I work with, that when we recommend something to you, a nutritional supplement, that we're advocating for it based upon your lab work, and we're advocating you to get it in a way that is easy for you to acquire it, that is cost effective, and is not, prohibitive. We do carry supplements in my office. That is true. But that is not my business model. It never was. It's a convenience. Still, I have it there. We make sure we price it well on the market. But I don't mind. I'm never going to be upset if you don't buy a supplement from me at all. I just want you to get what works. And I want to make sure the labs move in the right direction. That's all that matters to me. It always will be. So in our practice, when we find something off, we make sure we give you as many options as possible to acquire these. Make sure you get a good quality supplement that can move the lab value. Now, if the lab value is significant, say the MCV is really high, like 106, 108, I'm going to prescribe that supplement, and then I'm going to circle back and rerun that lab in a month to verify we figured this out for you. So that's just MCV, red blood cell value. What other things do I look at on there? There's a couple of small things in there. There's something called RDW, or red distribution width. And as that number becomes bigger, that's just a way of measuring the varying sizes of red blood cells. There's always a variable, the different sizes of red blood cells, because they're going through their life cycle, and they'll be a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger, and that's the whole thing. But sometimes if there's a big variable, there's a lot of little small ones, a lot of big ones, there's a big shift in sizes, that's an increased RDW, and that could be indicative of inflammation in the patient. Another thing could be indicative of inflammation, high platelet count. These are all included in that very inexpensive test. What else can I find in there? Let's think about white blood cells. When a person comes in for white blood cells, and when I do the CBC, when a patient presents for a lab review, and we go through the white blood cells, we have a total white blood cell count, which is good to help us know, how's your immune system? Is it very low? Is it very high? Are you fighting something off? What's going on? But it's really when I go down to the ratio, and that's what we just call the differential, where I look at, there's 5 different components to your white blood cells that we look at in this lab. There's going to be the neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. So these 5 white blood cell variants there, that helps you understand what part of the immune system is being upregulated or downregulated if there's an infection occurring. Now, the vast majority of patients that present to my clinic are not presenting for an infectious process. I know that. We do mostly endocrinology. That is true. So why would I want to tease that out? When you are under significant stress in your life, or you have significant inflammation, the ratio of neutrophils and lymphocytes, bacterial immunity and viral immunity, shifts. This is one of those easy ways for me to start to tease out inflammation in a person's life. It's an easy way for me to tease out stress in someone's life and dietary changes. This is an important factor to look at, that neutrophil lymphocyte ratio. Other things to consider in that ratio, another key thing to bring up is going to be the eosinophils. Now, when eosinophils become a little bit elevated above 3%, I know allergies are at play. It's just a part of it. If a patient presents to clinic and seasonally I see those eosinophils move up at certain times of year associated with allergy season or pollen counts, I know to have that conversation with them. Sometimes I've had patients present to clinic and their eosinophils are slightly elevated, and it has to do with the fact they haven't been changing their air filters in their house. So their air filters are kind of getting clogged up there, and that's causing them to have low quality air in their home. There's a lot of particulates in their home, and that would be bumping up the eosinophils. That's possible as well. I wanted to talk about these 2 specific labs in the sense that the CBC and CMP, and discuss with you just this one way of approaching it, because it is so easy for me to run that lab, and it's so easy for me to spend time with you and figure this out and create a strategy to understand you through those labs. By no means is what I just said exhaustive. Okay, there is so much more I look for in those. I always look for pathology. I look for health issues. I look for anemias, iron deficiencies, etc. Of course, I have to look at those things. But I wanted to today really focus on how these labs help me understand your lifestyle as well, and other certain micronutritional deficiencies that you normally would not associate with those 2 tests. I also wanted to share with you what one of the benefits are of being a patient at my clinic. I don't just see you as just a hypothyroid patient. I see you as a human being. I don't just see myself as the doctor who's just keeping your thyroid current. I see myself as your doctor who's an advocate for your whole wellness throughout your life. This is the only way to practice medicine. Some would say it takes too much time, that there's no profit in it. That's not a good business model. I don't agree with that. I think that this is the only way to practice medicine. I think that this is how we must practice medicine. I think that you deserve that type of medicine to be practiced. So today I just want to go over those 2 simple labs and simple benefits you get when we sit down with you and kind of go over it. Again, there's a lot of other things we'd find in there, but I just want to share with you just a couple of them. I hope this helps. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you around the clinic.